reminder that some of our favorite hardy succulents like sempervivums and sedums come from Europe and primarily the Alps. And today we're in the foothills of the Alps in Provence, and thought we would go on a little outing and see what we can come up with and what kind of growing conditions these plants grow in if we can find some.
This is the plateau where we're headed in search of hardy native Sempervivum houseleeks, also known as hens and chicks, as well as sedum stonecrop succulents. Just above the olive and grapevine, it abounds in stone fruit orchards, as well as lavender fields. It's in the lavender that we encounter our first succulent, Sedum sediforme, commonly known as the pale stonecrop. You can see that this stonecrop sedum is growing in the dappled shade of the lavender, but sending its pale yellow flowers up into the sun where they can attract pollinators. Pollinators aren't the only winged creatures around. Griffon vultures have returned to the area, racing the skies over the plateau and surrounding valleys. As we continue on our way, farmland gives way to a typical Mediterranean scrubland dominated by boxwood and juniper and an occasional oak or pine, not to mention wild lavender and wild thyme. The terrain is rocky, and the closer we get to the bluff, the rockier it gets. Here we find more pale stonecrop, struggling to hide in the shade of wild thyme. Next to the thyme is a dead cicada orney, the local cicada responsible for the chirping we hear in the background. I'm excited to see one close up, even if it's dead. Here we find another sedum in full sun, Sedum acre, or goldmoss stonecrop, judging from its short yellow star-shaped flowers. As we approach the cliff where the griffon vultures nest, we find more of the short goldmoss stonecrop, again in full sun. And a lone pale stonecrop flower with another dead cicada. What luck! And our luck doesn't end there. It's the native Sempervivum tectorum, or common houseleek, the best known of the hens and chicks, tucked in the rock crevices. They look pretty stressed in the full sun. This one does have flower buds, but will it be able to flower? These others are really desiccated. Will we find any in better shape? Regardless, at the edge of the bluff, we find more pale stonecrop, flowering contentedly in the light shade of grasses. Further up, a naturalized form of juneberry, Amelanchier Lamarckii, and lo and behold, a live cicada. What's that mixed in with the juneberry bush? It's Euphorbia characia, Mediterranean spurge. Seeing it on this hot, dry plateau, it's almost hard to imagine that it's the same plant used in Mediterranean landscapes for its spectacular chartreuse flowers. Here's one looking lush in amongst boxwood. Speaking of lush amongst boxwood, look at this pale stonecrop. And on closer investigation, this looks like a houseleek flower. And there are the hens and chicks to go with it. We can see they're growing at an angle in dappled light. All looking quite green, plump, and happy. Voila! If they're happy, I'm happy. If you are too, let me know with a green thumb. I mean a thumbs up. See you next time. when we look at how all this applies to a succulent dry stone wall.